High school dropouts are a disgrace to the company. You're being transferred to a remote island starting tomorrow." With those words, John, the head of the sales department, handed me a transfer notice. The notice stated that I was being transferred to a small island off the coast of Maine. Since I am a high school dropout and joined the company later in life, John has always had it out for me. On top of that, I recently witnessed him involved in some shady dealings. So, to keep me quiet, he decided to transfer me to a remote location. What am I supposed to do if I'm banished to a remote island? But since I am high school dropout and have already left my previous job, quitting this company would make it nearly impossible to find another job. So I have no choice but to accept any unreasonable orders. "Understood," I said reluctantly and accepting the transfer notice. I then began to think about how I would spend my time on the island. The next day, I took a 5-hour ferry ride to the island. Once there, I started my sales work in this new place, but as expected, it didn't go well. I was at a loss as to what to do next. That's when an unexpected encounter happened. My name is Tom. I'm 42 years old. I work in the sales department at a company called Smith Life Insurance. As the name suggests, we deal in life insurance, and my main job is to sell policies to individuals and businesses. However, to be honest, my performance has been far from stellar. Like any insurance company, our sales department has quotas, but I've never met mine since I joined the company. The truth is, I am just a high school dropout. I struggled with social interactions and found it difficult to get along with people during middle school. In the midst of those troubled relationships, I lost the motivation to continue my education and couldn't choose the path of further schooling. So after graduating middle school, I chose to become a part-time worker, drifting from one job to another. With such a pathetic background, it's no surprise that I've never had much luck in finding a partner, and I'm still single. Listen, no matter what, you gotta bring back a contract. Missing your quota is unacceptable. Yes, sir. As the workday began, the department echoed with shouts. It was John, raising his voice sternly. Every morning, he would rally the employees to push them to meet their quotas. I tried my best to keep up, but honestly, I felt like a failure. The thing is, I'm not good at aggressive sales tactics. As a life insurance salesman, you need to convince clients to sign contracts. But I always felt uneasy about pressuring people into signing. So when I do sales, I end up being honest about both the pros and cons of the insurance. As a result, many potential clients reconsider and back out. That's why my sales performance has been poor. To put it mildly, I've been at the bottom of the rankings continuously. Hey Tom. Yes, sir. Just hearing John call my name made me nervous about what he might say next. Your sales numbers this month? Oh, still at 0. What did you say? He approached me menacingly. 0 sales. 0. What kind of half-assed sales pitch gets you such pathetic numbers? I'm trying my best. I try to convey my hard work to John, but he doesn't listen. Since you joined this company mid-career, I've never seen you meet your quota. On top of that, your sales performance has always been the worst. Having someone like you around just drags down the sales department. I'm sorry. All I can do is to apologize to John, who is yelling at me. Can apologizing bring in contracts? No, that's not it. This industry isn't just about being sincere. Use your words wisely, and even if you have to trick them, bring in the contracts. Yes, sir. Terrified by John's yelling, I start making sales calls to get contracts. It's clear that I'm not suited for insurance sales. So why am I in this job? Because I had no other option. When I was 20, even with my limited education, I managed to get a full-time position. My previous job was at a sweatshop where I worked overtime until 2 a.m. every day. When I was young, I could handle it, but now that I'm in my 40s, I couldn't keep up and decided to quit before I ruined my health. However, finding a new job in my 40s with my educational background was not easy. In such circumstances, I somehow managed to land a sales job at this company. But my relief was short-lived. I quickly understood why this company hires people with my background. To meet tough quotas, employees work themselves to the bone, and those who can't keep up leave. If I quit this job, I won't have anywhere else to go. Driven by this fear, I somehow manage to keep working, but I'm under constant stress. Even though I show up to work, I can't get any contracts, and I'm scared of John's eyes. Sometimes I feel sick when going to work, and I even consider quitting if it means avoiding a breakdown. In these tough days, I constantly worry about what to do. I feel I need to get contracts, but if it were that easy, I wouldn't be struggling so much. Is there any way to break out of this situation? Thinking this, I'm taking a break and drinking coffee outside the building. Inside the office, I'm afraid of other employees' stares. As my break time ends, I start heading back inside. On my way, I notice a suspicious figure heading towards the back of the building. There shouldn't be anything back there. So what is he trying to do? Curious, I follow and see that the figure is John. What is he doing? Watching from a distance, I see John meeting someone behind the building. The other person is in a suit, clearly another businessman. He is grinning, and it's easy to guess they're up to no good. Soon, John takes out a thick envelope. It's probably full of cash, and he hands it over to the other person. The other guy quickly leaves after a brief greeting, disappearing from sight. If this were a legitimate deal, there'd be no need to do it in such a shady place. It must be something that shouldn't be seen. What the? Could it be an illegal money exchange? I never imagined John would be involved in something like this, and I inadvertently make a noise. He notices me. John looks annoyed, his eyebrows furrowing as he speaks. What is it, Tom? Oh, John, what was that? Tisk. He's closing in on me. It seems like this was indeed an interaction that should not have been seen. You know what'll happen if you tell anyone about this, right? It's probably because he's been embezzling money from the company and dealing with someone. Normally, this is something I can't overlook. But I've been completely intimidated by John in my daily work. While I stand there frozen, John leaves the scene. I can't decide what to do, but knowing me, I'll probably end up not reporting this to anyone. Besides, no one would believe someone like me, who's always at the bottom in sales performance. Thinking that my break time is about to end, I head back to my desk. In the end, a few days pass without me reporting John's wrongdoing. I wish someone would notice John's wrongdoing. While I'm thinking that, John comes up to me with a piece of paper. Hey, Tom. Yes, what is it? Am I finally getting fired? Fearing I'll end up on the streets, John hands me the paper. I nervously glance at it, but it's not a termination notice. It looks like a transfer notice. Relieved that I'm not getting fired, I'm shocked when I read the contents. What's this transfer about? High school dropouts are staying on the main office. You're getting transferred to an island starting tomorrow. To my surprise, I've been transferred to the coast of Maine, remote island. The island is a remote island under the jurisdiction of New York, but it takes 5 hours by boat to get there. There's a volcano in the center, and it's famous as a tourist spot due to its beautiful scenery, but it has only about 2,000 residents. There's no branch office in a place like this. What am I supposed to do? Actually, we've got company housing there. You'll live there and work on the island. So, from tomorrow, I'm supposed to live there and work on the island. This is ridiculous. There's no way I can do sales in a place like this. You can't get any contracts here anyway. You might have better luck on an island with no competition. John seems to be enjoying my transfer to the island, with a smirk on his face. Why did the HR department decide to send me to such a place? There are plenty of reasons I can think of. My sales performance has always been at the bottom, contributing nothing to the company. And probably because I witnessed John's unfair dealings a few days ago. So, John likely gave the HR department some excuse about my poor performance or lack of education to get me transferred. Once I'm sent to a remote island, I won't be able to report John's wrongdoing. Especially not after I quit. That's when I remember the existence of a banishment room. Employees deemed incompetent are placed in that room and pressured to voluntarily resign. The company housing on the island must be the banishment room of the company. In the past, employees deemed unnecessary were probably sent to the island and ended up resigning in despair. And now, I've been chosen as the next target. The company's got a boat ticket ready for you. Be grateful. Even so, I haven't prepared for the move. If you really plan on living on the island, you should start packing quickly. Though, I doubt you'll last long. Honestly, I was torn about whether to resign voluntarily. But considering my lack of education, my previous resignation, and my age, I have no other options. I decided to go there and do what I can. Understood. I nod in agreement and accept the transfer notice. After finishing my work for the day, I pack my things for a 5-day stay. Then, I board the boat as indicated on the ticket. With the sea breeze blowing, the boat slowly makes its way across the ocean. I wish they had arranged a flight, but this must be part of their harassment. After 5 hours, I finally arrive at the island. The sound of the waves is refreshing, something you don't hear much in New York. Following the map on my phone, I head to the designated dormitory. What I find is an old apartment building. Apparently, the company has been renting one of the rooms for a long time. Inside, the room is dusty and old. Living in the city has made me accustomed to better, but I decided to tough it out. But still, how am I supposed to do sales on a remote island? Having been rocked by the boat for 5 hours, it was already evening. After putting my luggage down, I decided to look around the island and start my sales efforts from tomorrow. The island is treated as one village. There is a road along the coast, circling around a volcano. Because of tourism, there are observation decks and so on. The coastline, formed from solidified lava, is spectacular. I had thought of remote islands as undeveloped, but I realized that was just a prejudice. There are proper daycare centers, schools, and nursing homes, providing facilities for both children and the elderly. The next day, I decided to visit some shops to try my hand at sales. "Excuse me, my name is Tom from Smith Life Insurance." "What? Do you have any insurance?" The shop owner looked at me suspiciously when I spoke. "We're all set with that kind of stuff." "Right, sorry to bother you." This reaction is normal in sales. I didn't want to push, so I backed off. Still, since I was told to do sales here, I couldn't just give up. I went to another store and spoke to the middle-aged owner. "Excuse me, I'm from Smith Life Insurance. Do salesmen come all the way out here?" "We're not interested." "Okay." Not discouraged, I visited a few more stores. But, as expected, no one showed any interest in insurance. Am I just going to end up doing nothing on this remote island? I could already picture John mocking me. Feeling miserable about trying to do sales on a remote island, I sighed deeply. I decided to try one more store. As I stood up and walked a bit, I saw a little girl crying. She looked about 5 years old. Looking around, I couldn't see anyone who seemed to be her parents. "What's wrong?" I knelt down and asked her. "I lost my daddy." It seemed she was lost. Maybe she came here with her parents for a trip and got separated. "In that case, let me help you find him." I thought I couldn't just leave her like that, so I decided to help her. There was no way I was going to find any customers if I kept working like this anyway. So, it made more sense to spend my time helping this kid. First, I needed to get her to stop crying. Then, I remembered I had a keychain that came with an insurance promotion. It was one with a dog with a cute design. "Here, you can have this. You can keep it." "Really?" The girl looked at me with wide eyes. "Yeah, it's a gift from me." "Thank you." After that, I held the girl's hand and walked around the area. I asked people we passed if they knew where she lived, but no one seemed to know. Even though small towns usually have a lot of familiar faces, no one had any idea, which made me tilt my head in confusion. "Excuse me, sir." Someone called out to me, and I turned around. A man was running towards us. "I'm sorry, that's my daughter." "Daddy." The girl let go of my hand and ran to the man. Apparently, he was her father. The two of them hugged and reunited. We're still getting used to living here, and we got separated. Thank you so much. Oh, I see. Are you working right now? I'm sorry for taking up your time. No, it's okay. Even though I was working, I wasn't gonna make any progress running around like I was. So, I didn't feel like I wasted my time at all. Sorry, I should introduce myself. My name is Sean. Can I thank you properly? If you're busy, we can do it another day. I was sure no one would notice if I slacked off a bit. After all, the bosses didn't expect me to improve sales here. If it's all right with you, sure. Great. There's a nice cafe over there. Let's go. We walked to a log cabin cafe and went in. After ordering drinks and some snacks, I introduced myself. The girl's name was Raina. I explained my situation. Tom, you're with an insurance company? Why are you on this small island? Honestly, I was demoted. Not being good with words, I ended up speaking frankly. I wondered if he would laugh at me, but he didn't look down on me at all. Really? That sounds tough. Does your company have a branch here? No, the company rented a dorm for me, so I'm living there. A rented dorm? Even for work, staying in a place like that. Objectively speaking, my current situation was definitely strange. Even for a demotion or a dead-end job, being sent to a small island was unheard of. Your company is something else. By the way, which company is it? I work for Smith Life Insurance. Oh, that company. Insurance companies can still be quite old school and harsh. You've had a rough time. Bob listened to my situation and showed concern. If you don't mind, could you tell me a bit more about what's going on? Maybe I can help. No, I couldn't ask you to go that far. It's okay, don't worry about it. Since Raina disappeared, I've been feeling like I'm barely alive. So, if there's anything I can do, I really want to properly thank you. He continued. Actually, just recently, we moved to this island. Moved? Yes. We wanted to live away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The people on the island are all really nice. Bob laughed heartily. I was surprised to hear he had moved. He seemed like a young man still in his prime. Living on a remote island is one option, but I thought he should be gaining experience in a place like New York if he was thinking about his future. Is your job okay? What about career advancement? Oh, the income isn't a problem. Actually, I'm serving as an executive. An executive? I was stunned by the unexpected revelation. When I think of executives, I usually imagine older, experienced people. Sean looked to be in his early 30s. From the perspective of someone like me, who started working right out of high school, seeing someone so young in such a position was dazzling. My father is the chairman, and I've been entrusted with the role of auditor. Most of the executive work can be done remotely and over the phone, so living here isn't an issue. Of course, if I'm called upon, I'll fly to New York. He glanced at the owner making orders in the kitchen as he spoke. When I was in New York, people around me were always driven by the desire for promotion and constantly vying for power, and it was exhausting. Everyone tried to win me over, hoping to control the company through me. But since coming here, that doesn't happen, and it's really easygoing. Though becoming an executive in his 30s seemed like smooth sailing, he had his own struggles. Anyway, back to our earlier topic. Since you've been so helpful, our company can take on your insurance contract. We're currently using a different insurance for our employee benefits, but we can switch to your company's plan. I widened my eyes at his unexpected words. Securing a corporate contract would significantly boost my sales record. I'll also inform my CEO about this matter. I'll introduce you to my friends who run their own businesses too. Is that really okay? I was shocked by how generous he was being. Of course, you've helped me out a lot. Besides, when it comes to financial matters like insurance, I trust people who can discuss things openly, like you. Most salespeople try to negotiate the highest possible contract. Some even try to deceive me with sweet words to make a quick buck. He chuckled. Since Sean was involved in running a company, he probably understood why salespeople acted that way. However, when it came to signing a contract for his own company, He surely preferred to deal with an honest salesperson who would openly discuss both pros and cons. The last insurance we signed had some unresolved issues. So, I'd be grateful if we could recontract with someone trustworthy like you, Tom. What do you think? I'm very happy. Please, let's do it. After Raina started attending preschool, Sean and I discussed the insurance contract again. Even though I was still not great at talking, he appreciated that I honestly talked about both the strengths and weaknesses of the contract. As a result, I secured a corporate contract with the Swift Group, where he was an auditor. I obtained contracts far beyond comparison with my colleagues. I quickly rose to the top of the sales rankings, even surpassing John. One day, while I was working on some documents in the dorm, I got a phone call. The name displayed on my phone screen was John. "Hello, this is Tom." "Hey, what's going on, Tom?" "John contacted me." "Is there a problem? What is that contract? How could you get a corporate contract from a remote island?" They knew everything and still transferred me to the island. I couldn't help but laugh, but it's a fact that I secured a corporate contract. "No, I talked it over with the auditor and made sure we got the contract." "What? Don't lie. How are you supposed to do business in a place like that?" "Fortunately, we had a very generous client. That's how we got the corporate contract." Securing a corporate insurance contract isn't easy. It's already tough to sell to individuals, and even tougher to corporations. Sean helped me with that, and I can't thank him enough. Apparently, it's not uncommon for high-income earners to move to remote islands. People tired of the crowds in places like New York and Chicago move to beautiful, natural areas with fresh air. Is there anything else you need to tell me? Damn it. Well then, I'll continue my business here. If I find out you're cheating, I'll report you to the bosses immediately. It was complete sour grapes. He'd always looked down on me, so he couldn't stand that I'd surpassed him in sales. Understood. Please let me know if anything comes up. Goodbye. Of course, I haven't cheated at all, so no matter how much he digs, he won't find anything. I never thought I'd hear John so flustered. Smirking, I hung up the phone. I continued to enjoy my life on the island. Sometimes I'd play with Raina, and if there were any procedures related to the corporate contracts, I'd meet with Sean. Thanks to Sean's introduction, not only did his company sign with us, but he also introduced us to related and other companies, ensuring a steady stream of new contracts. Occasionally, I'd fly out from the island to meet with other companies that reached out. I kept securing more corporate contracts and remained the top sales performer. On days without work, I'd spend time interacting with the island's residents. They welcomed me warmly, and I had a great time. The population of the island is declining, so they welcome new residents from outside. In response to their hospitality, I'd help anyone in need, especially the elderly. This strengthened my connection with the islanders, who appreciated and welcomed me even more. I experienced a warmth I never felt in the city. Sales work often feels like a cutthroat competition, but the people on this island live cooperatively. I even thought about actually moving here, even while maintaining high sales performance. I eventually got a call to return to the main office. Though I enjoyed my months on the island, I had to go back to the main office. So, I went to say goodbye to Sean. Actually, I'm being called back to the main office. It seems the CEO wants to apologize for transferring me. Is that so? That's great news, but we'll miss you. I wanted to stay longer, but being recognized by the main office is all thanks to you, Sean. I even considered quitting at one point, so I never thought this day would come. Currently, I'm the top performer in the sales department. Seeing my sales record, the CEO must have realized they couldn't keep me on a remote island. And if the CEO wants to apologize, I'd like to hear it myself. No, I should be thanking you. Meeting you and doing business was a pleasure. I'll continue to refer clients to you, and I wish you all the best at the main office. Raina also came to see me off. Come back soon, mister. Sure, Raina. Take care. I packed up my belongings from the dormitory and returned to the main office. Upon my return, I was called to the CEO's office. I greeted and entered the CO's office, where Mr. Smith was present. When he saw me, he apologized deeply. "I'm sorry for sending you to such a place." John has also expressed his regret. Of course, Mr. Smith must have known that I was working on the island. This transfer was likely a scheme he conspired on with John. I thought it was necessary for our company's management. However, after hearing about your diligent sales efforts even on the island, I realized how foolish I had been. From now on, we will return the rented dormitories, and I promise not to do such a rash thing again, even if someone's sales performance is poor. He apologized deeply again. I will ensure you receive sufficient incentives for your sales efforts, and I will also provide a special bonus as compensation. So please, can you forgive me? Mr. Smith seemed genuinely remorseful. Although I had mixed feelings, I believed he wouldn't repeat the same mistake. Seeing his sincere change of heart, I agreed. Understood. I look forward to working with you from now on. Yes, likewise. Mr. Smith looked relieved. I'm sorry to ask this right away, but could you teach John the sales techniques you acquired on the island? That way, your knowledge can be shared with the entire department. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to, but what do you think? Normally, I wouldn't agree so easily, but I wanted to talk to John personally and had something to convey to Mr. Smith. So I agreed. All right, I don't mind. But I have a request. What is it? I have something to tell you. I shared what I had seen a few months ago, and Mr. Smith listened sincerely. After talking with Mr. Smith, I had a one-on-one conversation with John in the conference room. He was sitting in a chair, trembling in front of me. Long time no see, John. Tom, you said you were going to find out if I was cheating, right? Did you find anything? John must have genuinely tried to find if I was cheating. But of course, there was nothing to find because I hadn't done anything wrong. You. Unfortunately, I'm not like you. I smiled at him, and he ground his teeth. It was a jab at him, of course. Now, my sales performance was much higher. In the insurance company, performance is everything. So, even though he was the manager, I could assert myself strongly. I checked after returning, but what are those sales figures? That is, when I compared our sales performance after returning to the main office, I found that John's sales were only 1/10 of mine. Moreover, his performance had been terrible for the past 2 months. He was probably so intimidated by my rapidly increasing sales that he was mentally cornered. He had treated me quite harshly. It's only natural that he feared I might retaliate. He probably spent sleepless nights wondering when I would get back at him. Do you remember what you said before I went to the island? That being just earnest wouldn't get contracts, and that I should deceive if necessary. You taught me that well, didn't you? John was trembling. And you yelled and cursed at me every day. Do you know how I felt every single day? Finally, John, unable to bear it any longer, says in a desperate tone, "What are you trying to say? Speak clearly." I must correct you. Your teaching is wrong. I glare at John and declare boldly, what helped me on the island was not the art of deceiving people, but kindness and sincerity towards others. Because of that, I was able to secure those big corporate contracts. I was not suited for sales. I was inefficient, and ultimately, I couldn't even make it to high school, let alone college. However, I never forgot to be sincere about sales. And that brought me great success. Sure, being good with words can be a weapon in sales. But we must never forget sincerity towards others. I learned that on the island. Before going to Providence Island, I couldn't express this opinion clearly. But now I can confidently assert the right attitude for sales. I must say, I'm quite a kind person. That's why I could forgive Mr. Smith's sincere apology. But I just can't forgive John. He taught employees to use aggressive sales tactics and treated those who couldn't meet quotas harshly. And ultimately, he kept demoting underperforming salespeople to the remote island's exile office. Apologize. What? Otherwise, I'll report that incident to Mr. Smith. At this, John's face turns pale. Apparently, he immediately understood what incident I was referring to. Needless to say, it's about the information that led to my demotion. Hey, please don't do that. John desperately tries to stop me. Probably, I'm the only one in the company who knows John's weakness, and I can report it to Mr. Smith. In the past, I didn't have the voice to bring this up to the bosses, but now I do. If I asked Mr. Smith who he would trust between John and me, he would likely say he trusts me more because of my high sales performance. Why? Because, you see, then you know what you have to do. John glares at me bitterly. But I hold the upper hand here, so I'm not afraid of his glare at all. Eventually, John trembles, falls to his knees, and he says, "I apologize." For what exactly? For treating you coldly, Tom, and for demoting you to the remote island. For teaching wrong sales methods. I looked down at him, the department head who used to boss around his subordinates, now in a miserable state. Looking down at him like this, he seemed much smaller than he once did. After watching him grovel pathetically for a while, I say, "Well, I've already reported your misdeeds anyway." What? Hearing this, John's face shoots up, showing a look of astonishment, then turns red with rage. "You tricked me." John, furious, stands up and tries to grab me. But before his hand can reach me, the conference room door bursts open. Mr. Smith walked in. We all looked at him in surprise. He was holding a stack of documents in his hand. "John, what is the meaning of this?" It seemed he had already done some investigating. I smirked. Mr. Smith glared at John and demanded answers. "The amount of money used in the transactions you were responsible for is significantly higher compared to others. What's the explanation for this?" Well, John couldn't answer Mr. Smith's probing questions. This was the situation he feared the most. "I trusted you and appointed you as the manager. I thought some strict guidance was necessary for the growth of your subordinates, so I overlooked a few things. But it seems I need to reconsider my evaluation of you." John remained silent. He didn't have the courage to confess his wrongdoing in front of Mr. Smith. Seeing John's reaction, Mr. Smith said, "We're going to conduct a thorough investigation into this matter with an external auditing company." "What?" John hastily tried to argue. "No, there's no need to go that far. I haven't done anything." "How dare you say that? It's obvious there are discrepancies in these documents. You've been hiding things by abusing your authority as a manager." Mr. Smith was completely furious. He had been taken advantage of by the very person he trusted. His anger was justified. "When the truth comes out, you'll face appropriate consequences. Be prepared." "Please wait." "Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith." John clung to Mr. Smith, but he was no longer listening. Later, an external company's investigation revealed that John had been receiving kickbacks in transactions with other companies. The total amount involved was $200,000. We were shocked to learn that while reprimanding the sales department employees, he had been embezzling an enormous sum. Naturally, John was fired for cause. The matter was also reported to the police, and he was criminally prosecuted. John and the representatives from the other company faced 5 years of imprisonment for embezzlement. Additionally, they were ordered to repay the embezzled funds to Smith Life Insurance and the other company involved. John had used up all his savings and would now spend time in prison. Finding a new job after his release would be nearly impossible, and his life would be extremely difficult. I continued working at Smith Life Insurance. I received incentives and a special bonus for my sales performance, which greatly improved my lifestyle. With John gone, I was promoted to manager. Although I was still quite young and had no managerial experience, it was a natural decision given my top sales record. Of course, there were targets to meet, but unlike John, I was determined to find solutions together with my team rather than being overly harsh. This approach gradually increased the number of employees and reduced individual workloads. About 6 months later, I visited the island after a long time. I was surprised at how much little Raina had grown. Children grow up so fast. "Hey, it's been a while, mister." "Yeah, it's been a while. How have you been?" "Good." After greeting Raina, I also spoke to Sean, who had been watching us. Good to see you again, Sean. Thanks for everything as always. Good to see you too. I appreciate your honest dealings. Let's continue to work well together. I always thought my straightforward nature wasn't suited for sales, but thanks to this kindness, I got to know Sean's family. This eventually led me to achieve top sales and secure the manager position. So, being kind to others is never a mistake. I intend to continue valuing this kindness and doing my best from now on.